I will try to be as short as possible, but I'm Italian, so you know it would be quite difficult. I would like, first of all, to thank you, all the organizers, for giving me the chance to be here, and all the people involved in the back office for the warm welcome. First of all, let me tell you, I will use the term South Asian, even if it is quite controversial. I need this term, the term South Asia, to refer to all Indian countries before partitions. This term gets significance when connected on a migration context, where origin blurs into what Benedict Anderson defined imagined communities. My paper is an overview of South Asian diaspora in the United Kingdom and its cultural expression in theatre, with a particular attention to women artistic production. After a short introduction on South Asian diaspora, a reflection on terms choices, the paper focuses on United Kingdom analyzing the evolution of South Asian presence in theatre, especially the case of Kali Theatre Company, also with attention on history of Arts Council funding system and its policy, that I will probably cut off in my speech. The history of English literature has begun to listen to the strong claims of post-colonial cultures until the last 2 decades. Nevertheless, post-colonial drama is almost totally excluded by academic studies, probably because texts are only a small part of theatre experience and performances are ephemeral. The first book published on this theme is Post-Colonial Drama from 1996, but even if its author explained that he had to exclude Indian drama because few are written in English and because it is extremely complex. There are then researches on subcontinental drama, but very few deal with it from a post-colonial or gender point of view. Some articles can be found in internet, but they are mostly focusing on South Asian in America. Black and Asian men playwrights in Britain has almost always set their work in a post-colonial context. Women, on the contrary, have emphasized more on the hic et nunc, here and now. Their work is not at the center in a post-colonial context, but they are off the center, and recognize them would mean, as a consequence, to break the dualistic system created by neo-imperialism and witnesses the collapse of the center-periphery system. As Spivak theorizes, the identity of the subaltern is its difference, and I argue that this difference, if this difference disappears, the center loses its subaltern and has to recognize itself as a diaspora space and entitle the other as constitutive subject of that space and culture. So the concept, in UK this would mean to displace the concept of Britishness, but redefining its parameters. For this reason, Kali Theatre Company should not be placed in the post-colonial frame, but it should be used as an alternative interpretative criteria to define their experience, that is the frame of diaspora. Intended as a process started from the displacement and affecting also the following generations. The company is of course affected by post-colonialism. For many of them, the playwrights are immigrants themselves and have experienced life in ex-colonies and the interior tension toward the center of the empire. But analyzing the Kali Theatre Company only as a post-colonial expression would mean to weaken and make it experience banal. Instead of experiencing cultural denigration, they are dealing more with dislocation. And they are not just a qualitative but also quantitative minority in UK, quite often dealing with other minorities. A totally different social relationship, particularly when considered second and third generation, is then consequence of this different place in society. After Bra, in cartography of the diaspora, suggests to displace the discourse from the post-colonial and immigration frame to the one of diaspora, which gives the chance to call the concept of fixed origins into question and to consider all the complexity of trajectories, generations and life experiences. People in India have strong roots, language and land, on which basing their strength and struggle on alien culture. People of Indian origins born in UK see quite often their parents' origin as a stigma, and every generation more loses its Indian roots on which post-colonial discourse is based. This generation and their foreigners in both countries, so the concept of identity becomes fluid and changes according to the context. Diaspora community, breaking the Manichaean duality between center and margin, places itself in the center, but according to Trinh Minh Ha, the center is itself marginal. There are centers within the margin. This would then rehabilitate the post-colonial paradigm, but as far as I'm concerned, diaspora is a step forward, which needs new interpretative criteria to describe all its vivacity and originality. In a post-colonial context, we usually speak of hybridization of two cultures. In the diaspora space, it is a more complex process because cultural and ethnic hybridization is intersected by gender, religion, politics, racial crossover, different migratory trajectories, individuality, and emotional background of every single person. And I should also add transnationalism. All these influences affect every culture, the English one included, in an intricate system of relationship. For Gabriel Griffin, post-colonial intercultural and world theatre kept a colonial cultural imaginary that is more engaged with the elsewhere and the other. Women in diaspora, instead, are more concerned on the daily problem of life in common with other cultures, ethnicities, and races. Griffin warns also that the development of post-colonial, intercultural, and world theatre and theory have tended to reinscribe colonial maps into cultural encounters, maintaining boundaries between the other and the self that facilitate the obliteration of the work of Black and Asian women playwrights in Britain. In the case of Cali Theatre Company, beside the hybridized cultural context, they are dealing with women, that is, with a double minority, ethnic and of gender. For this reason, it is important to develop new interpretative paradigm that to define the reality that I decided to call diaspora theatre, waiting for a more authoritative definition. Let me go. Dr. Didar Singh illustrated very well the four waves of immigration and all the trajectories of diaspora, helping me today to frame my research. As Shilpa Nandi just explained, South Asian diaspora is very complex to analyze because many aspects are involved: culture, trajectories, experience, crossover, and involvement. It should also be considered as a consequent diaspora of South Asians who fled from political instabilities of the colonies where they settled in the 19th century and moved to Britain or Canada. And we should consider a diaspora that mostly affected women, that is, family reunions. 3/4 of South Asian in Europe lives in Britain, mostly in London and Southeast area. South Asian have been part of the UK since 300 years, but only in the 20th century their presence became more consistent. This first generation had to struggle ethnic exclusion and marginalization, and the most effective strategy has been to build links of mutual aid. A secondary flux came from West Africa in the 60s and 70s, determined by the end of African colonialism. It has been estimated that around 1/4 of South Asian in UK arrived from Africa. The majority of immigrants come from restricted area, as you can see, so I skip. The ethnic groups follow different trajectories and different adaptation strategies according to their culture. You'll find details in my paper. The development of South Asian theatre in UK mirrors sociological dynamics of South Asian diaspora, from exotic presence in tours during 18th century and 19th century, the first decade of the 20th century, see troops, and there was a kind of interest in Asian theater. After World War II, there is activist theater for independence. In the 60s, there is language theater in mother tongue. And in the 70s, there is community theater. I'm just skipping a little bit because time is short. In the 80s, they're exploring commonalities between culture within Britain. And in the 90s, finally, there is a full recognition of South Asian theater. So, at the end of the 80s, Tara Art, under the guidance of the charismatic Jatinder Verma, has been a breeding ground of new ideas and talents, who after a while expressed the need for autonomy and new goals. Kali Theatre Company raised in this context, but draws also from companies of the 70s who brought the theatre the political and women's struggles. Kali is then to be analyzed not only from a diaspora point of view, but also from the strong feminist experience which nurtured the founders. They are then struggling against a rooted and subtle discrimination, both in terms of race and gender. Kali Theatre Company was founded in 1998 by Ruxana Hamad and Rita Wolf after the murder of a Sikh woman by her husband in a woman's refuge. This caused indignation of the two founders because the media did not pay much attention. Okay, this was just to show you the complexity of all the different routes of people I interview for my research. The point of view changes according to many factors: generation, age, period of arrivals, trajectories, and personal experience. Kali aims are to introduce South Asian women in theatre, focusing particularly on those areas where they are underrepresented, and also to promote and support women playwrights who produce innovative and provocative plays, and to show diaspora human story to a multicultural audience, celebrate richness and, well, okay, good, and diversity in British society. It also tried to defy prejudice and convention which normally expect South Asian to write about experience connected to their racial identity instead of their individual identity, shouting their voices up. Every voice is for them unique, and representing them means to break the wall of silence. For doing so, Kali Theatre Company produces plays, theatre workshop, public reading, and it is also open to South Asian community, working with groups fighting violences on women. Okay, maybe I can. These are all the plays and workshops they are doing. After 1998, you can see the production is increasing because of the creation of the board of directors. Okay, I skip here. And so the result, the importance of Kali Theatre, of the company for South Asian women playwrights in UK has been significant. Of all the new plays by British Asian women playwrights presented since 1988 in the UK, nearly a third have been presented by Kali. Of the plays by new writers, over 75% were presented by Kali. I will skip, as announced, the founding system of Arts Council England, and so I go to the end. Kali Theatre Company started as project funded, and at the beginning it was quite difficult, and now Kali is now fully recognized as an Arts Council national portfolio company. On my paper, Kali is difficult to categorize due to its vivacity, fluidity, and multitude of voices, experiences, and expectation. It defies static definition. From all the interviews I made, all the interviews anyway had some commonalities. First of all, a desire of universality. Post-colonial approach usually underlines differences, with diaspora women writers search for universal values to show that emotions can overcome every difference of race, ethnicity, culture, and religion. The second and last commonality is the welcoming of English language as far as a way of last words. As a way of communication which gives the chance to express themselves and let them be known from society, to speak for ourselves as Asian, I'm quoting, rather than having other people saying that is what South Asian women are, so give people a voice. For many of Kali writers, English is their first language, and anyway, it joins South Asian communities with all their multitude of languages. Roxana's aspiration is to see the end of Kali, because there would be enough South Asian women playwrights in British theatre, or I would add, to continue with new aims. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Alice. I had to be careful here.